two different words. Both were sexual sin, but one carried more of a meaning than the other one. It had a different meaning than the other one. Ultimately, sexual sin is, I'll give you the one, is fornication. What's the other? That Jesus condemned. Adultery. Okay, so what's the difference between the two?
Fornication is premarital sex, or sex outside of marriage, and adultery is sex with another person while you're married.
While you're married, okay, and that's pretty much it.
Record, you are live. I'm just testing it, so we're live streaming this, just so you guys know.
Okay.
See my mom.
Okay, so adultery is when you're married and have a relationship outside the marriage is adultery. Fornication is engaging in sexual activity before marriage, or anytime you have not had God's legal right with the other person, which would have to be the only way would be marriage. Okay, so we have homosexualism, lesbianism, fornication, adultery. What's another one that most generally you don't hear too much about, but is mentioned in the Bible? And it's kind of very disgusting to think about it. Right. Yeah. Bestiality with animals.
You know that's not illegal everywhere.
It's not illegal?
There's several states that it's not illegal, and I think
it's legal in West Virginia.
It's legal in West Virginia? See, I don't hear too much about it. I mean, you don't know, people don't profess that much. You know what I'm saying? They don't go around saying, that they're doing that with a cow or whatever. But that is crazy. I can't even imagine.
There's a video going around with that stuff a year ago.
Oh, really?
That's why I know it's legal, because I Googled. There's like...
Wasn't the girl from Wheeling or something?
Yeah, the girl was from Wheeling, but there's a map of like the degree of crime it was in each state, and it was legal here.
Right. Do you remember the study we had? It's been a while back. That had social problems within that, and also was definitely wrong according to the Bible. When we studied the first week or two just about the social issues that evolved from it. Do you remember what we was talking about? And we've already mentioned it. Do you remember specifically what that situation was with children? What do people do nowadays rather than get married and make a family?
They just live
They just live together, right? And they have kids.
Yeah.
So then they have kids, but doesn't have a husband and a wife involved. You have a mom and a dad biologically, but you don't have a mom and a dad who are one in the eyes of God. And so then we talked about all the social issues that those children have to deal with because they don't have a mom and dad that are married. But it's getting to the point anymore where that doesn't seem to matter. I mean, people don't say anything. What was the two words we used to describe a child born outside of wedlock?
That's true.
Okay, one was a bastard. What's the other?
Illegitimate.
Illegitimate. And those are two words you don't hear anymore. I mean, used to, that was a big thing. I can remember when I was growing up that there was somewhere in the hierarchy of England, someone had a child out of wedlock. And I mean, they used that illegitimate word, like illegitimate child of princess or queen or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they used it, is that a derogatory term?
Not anymore.
No, but at one point that was embarrassing. That was something you would hide. What was it that when maybe 50, 60 years ago, if a boyfriend and girlfriend got a little too close, ended up the girl was with child, what did they just naturally do quickly? Get married. What did he say?
He said aborted, but that's not a bad answer. I mean,
no, nowadays that's what they would do. But that wasn't even an option.
That was my second guess.
I was going to say, after I said that,
So then they hurry up and get married so no one would know that they fornicated. You know what I'm saying? They want to figure, well, the wedding night, that was all taking place and everything was good, and but as soon as that lady finds out that she's with child, then that's what they done. To make things right, to make things look right in the eyes of man, but also to make things look right in the eyes of God. That was the important thing, because we were a godly nation. We were more concerned about morality and what God would think and what people would think. Do people care what people think about them anymore? No, they could care less.
Well, or they care too much about what people think and not care enough about what God thinks.
Yeah, well, and that's true too. Yeah, you can take that on the other side and go with it the other direction. But okay, let's read that first paragraph first, Ruby.
It has been said that we live in a sex-saturated world. This is probably an accurate description of both our American culture and many other cultures as well. The popular feeling seems to be, if it feels good, do it. Because of this, our world is full of problems with premarital sex, extramarital sex, homosexuality, pornography, and abortion, the termination of an unwanted pregnancy. For the next few weeks, we will examine God's perspective of sex and man's perversions of it.
Okay. Is there a phrase in the Bible that says, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may die? Yeah.
Jesus said that, didn't he?
I forget exactly the context of the verse, but you pull it, it's not what it's saying to do. What I'm saying.
I think it's in the Old.
It says, it's talking about, if that's what you think is life is all about, you know what I'm saying? If there's no God, there's no heaven, there's no right or wrong, live it, fulfill the flesh, take care of the flesh. But then, because that's all there is, but it's more, there is a whole lot more than that. And we did mention pornography. That's another one that's really become rampant. Even in movies. Used to, you could go to a PG-13 and you didn't get much nudity or sexual activity. But anymore, PG-13 could be rated R 10 years ago. And a PG movie has innuendos. The Grinch, I think we talked about this, has an innuendo of fornication. When they're at that dance, the Christmas
I never
party.
noticed that until we talked about it, and I watched that movie last week. I watched The Grinch a lot, and I saw it. I was like, it's just really
Then it stuck out like a sore thumb, didn't it?
Yeah.
When they have the party in the jar, and everybody puts their car keys in the jar, and then at the end of the party, whoever's keys you pull out of the jar, that's who you go home with. Remember that? Oh, what? Next time you watch The Grinch, see if that isn't in there. You see what? Now a kid has no idea. A kid that's watching that has no idea what that means. But why did they put that in there? For the adults that watch the movie with their kids.
It's like a good song, but like just drops an F-bomb randomly. It's like, why'd you have to ruin that? Like, it's a good song.
There's stuff in cartoons all the time.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
SpongeBob had really bad.
innuendo.
Yeah, well, the modern cartoons. Now, if you go back to the Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, Donald Duck, Porky Pig, what was some of the other ones I watched? I forget, those are the basic Warner Brother ones that, just was repetitious in my time, and there was actually, violence. But now they would rather promote immoral sexual activity in a cartoon than they would violence. They'll be concerned about the violence. Well, that's too violent, we can't show that to kids.
Yeah.
But let's teach them how to be immoral, by showing them these little things in these
Where they were
cartoons.
trying to take Elmer Fudd's gun away.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I never seen that.
Yeah, that's happened like just as of recently. They're going to take that away.
Right. There was a lot of violence there. He'd shoot himself, and they'd plug the barrel and he'd blow up his
Yeah.
face. There's all kinds of stuff that happened that was funny.
Right.
And everyone knew that wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? The kids thought it was funny. They knew that wasn't real. There wasn't no kid going to go out and grab a gun and start shooting everybody because they watched Elmer Fudd son of Bugs Bunny, It just wasn't going to happen. But you see where society's mind has just went warped? As far as these types of things go. Okay, Francis, go ahead and read the next paragraph.
God's plan for sex. Everyone should understand that sex in and of itself is not wrong or dirty. God designed both the male and female bodies, and our Creator instilled the natural sexual desires within us. After God created Adam and Eve, He told them, "Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." In fact, one should read Genesis 2:18 through 25. The statement in verse 24, "and they shall be one flesh," is a reference to union between a husband and his wife. Thus,
That's you good.
well, there's words on the right. There's a reference to the sexual union between a husband and wife. Thus, God's plan from the beginning was for one man to marry one woman, and for the two of them to enjoy one another's sexuality in the bond of marriage. Jesus reminded the people in his day that this was God's plan.
Okay. Jesus addresses things. Remember the phrase, Jesus, and it was said by those of old, "Thou shalt not kill." But I say, whoever shall hate his brother has committed murder in his heart. And he took all the 10 Commandments and upgraded them. You know what I'm saying? Except for the Sabbath, which then became, our Sabbath is the Lord's Day, the first day of the week. So we don't keep the 7th day of the week, which is Saturday. We keep the Lord's Day. The other 9 apply, still applying to us.
He did that all in the Beatitudes, right? Or was that not?
No, it wasn't in the Beatitudes. It was a different time that he did that. But he took now he said, you know, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," and that was the bottom. That was it as far as the 10 Commandments go. But now he expands upon that, and it's a sin of the mind. You know, everything now can be a sin of the mind. It doesn't have to be actual action. I mean, people say, what's the phrase? People say, if you think it, you might as well do it, because God knows you thought it. So what do you feel about that phrase? You think it's better to have a sin of the mind and repent of it before you act upon it, or take a sin of the mind and act upon it, and then repent of it?
Or repent before you do it.
What's going to cause more damage?
If you think about it, it's premeditated.
And you can condition yourself to think like a thought pops up in your head, like you just think about something else.
Yeah, you just kind of, just like you did there, and probably not even realize it, was kind of shake your head and get it out of there, you know what I'm saying? Get that evil thought out of your head.
Yeah.
You know, I have to do that myself sometimes with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're just nasty, you know what I'm saying? And I just, just shake your head because you just can't believe it. And that's one of my bad habits. Shake my head. I mean, the other day I was hanging out with Brooke and, "Dad, what are you shaking your head for now?" You know, there's something happened. I don't know. I just don't say anything. I just shake my head. You know, Stephanie will do that too. She'll say, "What are you shaking your head for now?" You know, well, something's been said or done that I just better just not say a word. Just let it go. But that's some outward emotion. You know, just shake my head. Yeah, it is. It is pretty much. It gives me away. But so many times, you know, we don't stop at the thought. Where if we did, we could pretty soon eliminate the thoughts. Now you go back to James, and James talks about the whole sequence of sin. So what's the first step in this whole sequence of actually sinning? What happens first?
Desire. Sinful desire.
Okay, well there has to be a desire. What else has to be first? A temptation. Okay, you have a temptation, and then we got to decide whether your desires make that temptation a temptation or not. Some temptations are not very strong. I mean, they're there, but they're not very strong. But other temptations kind of hit you personally because your desire for that, to fulfill that temptation, is stronger. So that's when you really got to fight at to get, to overcome. When is it usually we act upon a sin that we've been tempted and we've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it? Then what happens?
You do it.
You do it. If you don't get it out of your head soon, you do it. I mean, guaranteed. If you don't get it out of your, don't find something else to do, someone else to go with, get out of the situation, get your mind on something else. I don't know, whatever you got to do, but that's what happens. James talks about that it conceives because it's in there. It's like, and when that temptation conceives and that desire conceives, it brings forth sin. And sin brings about.
Sin is fully grown and brings forth.
Right, there you go. You just quoted that verse pretty much. When sin is fully grown, it brings about death. So that's the progression of from the very first temptation to the thought to the desire to the lingering to the conceiving to the sin, the act, and then to death. I mean, it's just
Is that
crazy.
in James 1 or James 2?
I think it's James 1 toward the end of the chapter. About 10, 11. Okay, Steve, read the second paragraph of the one Tracy started.
The Bible is frank in approving sex between scripturally married husbands and wives. There are other places where the Bible speaks openly of
Marital
sex. The Song of Solomon contains several references to both the male and female bodies and speak of the desire for sexual union. Paul reminds the Corinthians that husbands and wives are expected to fulfill one another's sexual needs. Read the wise man of Solomon wrote in Proverbs 5:15-20. Finally, read Hebrews 13 and verse 4. This verse
Explicitly.
says material sex is not wrong. Sex outside of marriage is wrong.
Okay, marital sex is not wrong. Okay, so is there responsibility to the husbands and wives in the Bible to their partners? Absolutely. Is there ever a time when they could refuse? Yes. For what? Two reasons. Well, it's a combination of things that they're doing to refuse. What did they do many times to show, to take time away from life to worship God? What did they do in the Old Testament?
Fast.
Well, that's one. What's the other one? It kind of goes with fasting.
Sabbath.
No, or just say prayer and fasting. So for prayer and fasting, that, and then they come together after that, you know. But that's one reason that you could actually, you know, refuse your partner. I mean, I don't know about most husband-wife relationships, but I know that I think the kids, all the kids in the family should see mom and dad showing affection. You know, holding hands when they're walking, or hugging, or kissing, or sitting close on the couch. You know what I'm saying? Sharing some food, something where you see intimate.
You see they like each other.
Yeah, you can see. I mean, what kind of kids are we going to show? How are we teaching our kids about marriage if we don't, as a married couple, demonstrate
Act
what
like
it's all
you're
about?
married.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not everybody's going to be loving every day. There's going to be times you get on my nerves. You get on her nerves. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a good day. But generally, that's got to pass quickly. And we got to show the kids that it passes quickly. There's even been periods of time where things weren't good, but it's got to pass. You got to get through it. And then your kids see, wow, you know, they hung in there, they fought it out, and now it's good. You know, it's all good. But how many of your friends can actually say, I've got my original mom and dad? What's the percentage you figure? 1 out of 10, maybe? 1 out of 20? 1 out of 30?
Who has that many friends? I can only think of 2 of my friends that their parents are together.
Still mom and dad.
Yeah.
Right.
One I think of is Joe.
I know.
That's it.
Well, his mom and dad separated.
Pretty much all of my best friends are, but I know a lot of people. So,
what's the home supposed to be made up of?
husband, wife, children.
Yeah, mom, dad, and the kids. Yep, husband, wife, and the kids. When you say mom and dad, that's automatically insinuation in God's eyes of marriage, because kids shouldn't be there without marriage. That should be the prerequisite to a family, is getting married. I mean, the best thing to do, if you find that person that you really want to spend the rest of your life with, and you think, wow, he's the man, he's the girl, she's the girl, whatever, and you decide to get married, you need to take some time for you and her to learn about each other before you start bringing kids into the mess. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was a good thing to do. You know, it's take a couple of years, just the two of you, have fun, go out, spend some money, do some things. Because when kids come along, that all stops. You know, then you don't have the money. It's all just handed out. Pastor it comes in. You know, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what moms and dads do for the kids, right? You know, and teach them how to handle things and do things and live life and have a good life. But how are we going to do that with all the sexual immorality in this nation? This nation is founded upon biblical principles that are digressing every day. Immorality. When you think about biblical principles, what is the thing that comes first to your mind that this country is digressing? Is it stealing? Is it killing? Or is it immorality? Yeah, I mean, it's the top of the list.
It could be any. It could be 27 million different things. I was talking, and I was so mad yesterday. Talking to, or not yesterday. It was 2 days ago. No, I'm not. But just talking about like how America. I was like, America's just starting to suck. And that was metaphorical. Obviously, we're still a free country, still the most blessed nation in the world. But I was like, I mean, just like values wise and moral wise, like I just got mad. And talking about like how just what the quote normal. Right. For everything, and like the unity, or not the unity, the division, the lack of unity, and I was like, it just made me mad. I got fired up with it.
I don't know why, but this morning I was coming on the way to church, and I watched people as I passed them in the car, and I looked at kind of how they were dressed, and, you know, kind of what they were doing, and I could tell I didn't see anybody headed to church. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes you'll pass somebody in a suit. You know what I'm saying? And him and her dressed up nice, an older couple or something. Or you see mom and dad and the kids type of thing, a car full of kids going somewhere. Very rarely. Just watch when you're traveling on a Sunday morning and you're headed to church, or Sunday evening or Wednesday night, and see how many people you see doing the same thing out there.
We're usually late, so
everybody's already there. But yeah, I would say, well, what didn't we look it up a couple of weeks ago? Like the percentage of people, well, not people who go to church, but people in the Church of Christ is less than, it's like a fraction.
Oh, right.
It's like 1.2 or something.
And that's out of 330 million people.
Right. Yeah, it was very small.
Yeah. And I would say that the fraction of people that go to church is, I mean, maybe 10%.
And that's including all denominations,
right, that
are supposedly, quote, moral. Well, when you have denominational people who are very moral people,
right,
you know, the doctrine issues sometimes are the discrepancy between, but they're very moral people. And even you have people that have this immoral issue in their lives, with the premarital sex, fornication, living together, who have good hearts and are good people, but they're all messed up as far as getting that part of their life in order with the way God planned it. But then you have those who just off the deep end somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Their whole life is messed up. They got drugs and alcohol and immorality. They steal, and I mean, they just do it all. You know what I'm saying? They don't love their neighbor. It's all about self. I mean, they're just gone. You know, you wonder if there's any hope for people like that sometimes. But even those people who engage in a regular sin because of their ignorance of what God would expect, sometimes can be reached because they do have a good heart. They do try to live right and live good, be right with other people and treat people right. I mean, I got people at work that treat me good, but they're ornery as can be. You know what I'm saying? But that's just that part of their life they don't understand what God's intended for them to be, and so then they don't do it. Then this guy that I work with was telling me, we call this one guy Bear because he's short and he's got a big fuzzy face. But I worked with him last summer, and he was kind of ornery. He and another guy, who was a crew of three of us, and so then I found out that he left his wife, or his wife left him. I said, what happened? Because they were always, you know, he always said, well, man, we went out to the bar, we went dancing, we went over and played the hotspot a little bit, went over to Langston and gambled, and him and his wife would do all these things together. Well, what happened was he found religion. So he went cold turkey. No more dancing, no more drinking, no more gambling, and his wife left him. Yeah. because that was her bag of tricks, and she didn't understand where he was coming from when he was taught. I mean, it's a denominational, but there's some denominations still teach against that stuff. You know, and he bought into it. I mean, he thinks their denomination's the only one going to heaven. He's even said that. Yeah, that's how enthralled he is with this. And he said, so what? You know, I don't need her. I need to go to heaven.
So is that biblical for them to divorce? Like she divorces him?
No, there's no fornication. Unless she leaves and finds a boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? Then goes out and makes a new relationship. Then
so what's he do? He just doesn't get married.
Right. He just, yeah. Can have some companionship, but there is no marriage, no immorality, no sexual activity.
Unless, like you said,
unless she goes out and cheats on him, because in God's eyes, the only reason for divorce is adultery. Yeah. Or death. That's not divorce. That's if one dies. You know, then you're free to marry. But then there's stipulation that's even referenced is young widows should marry in the Lord. You know, if you're a young woman and you got children and your husband dies some freaky way with an accident or some sickness, the Bible advises to marry in the Lord. Well, you want to bring some worldly heathen in to raise your kids. If you're already got them in church and going to church and had a good Christian family, you know what I'm saying? And that makes it tough to find one of those, you know, that would fit into that category. Okay, Brody, read that bottom paragraph. Read the first part of it.
In the Bible, when a husband or wife has sex with someone other than their spouse, it is called adultery. The general term for any form of unlawful sexual activity is fornication. Adultery is a violation of the sacred marriage covenant and is condemned in both the Old and New Testament. The seventh of the Ten Commandments says, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," Exodus 20:13. In fact, under the law of Moses, those who were guilty of adultery were punished by death, Leviticus 20:10. The book of Proverbs records, "But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul." Proverbs 6:32.
Okay, we talk about God not living in temples, right? There was a time in the Old Testament he dwelled in the tabernacle in the Holy of Holies. Okay, his presence was there. But in the New Testament we talk about that he doesn't dwell in tabernacles made with hands. Remember the phrase? Okay, so where is it that God dwells in the New Testament time, in the Christian age?
Us.
Okay, we are the tabernacle of God. We are the temple of God. However you want to say it, we are the house of God. So if our bodies then is where God dwells, and we commit immorality, who are we singing? What are we singing against when we do that? Who are we sinning against? Not only God, ourselves. We're sinning against our own bodies. You know, we wonder where is self-respect gone? I mean, where is the thought of keeping yourself clean and pure? You know, for that perfect person that you want to get married to and save yourself for them. That doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? People don't feel guilty about just turning their body loose to anybody and anything. You know, it's just, that's society.
That's kind of like what he said, when you hear more about what the world thinks instead of what God thinks. And that's how a lot of people justify it. Well, everyone else does it, so I can do it.
Right.
And you were talking about how self-respect, how you need to have self-respect, but the world idea of self-respect is, oh, well, you need to love yourself and you do whatever makes you feel right. That's what self-respect is.
That's their definition of religion, you know.
Yeah.
Then that was even used up here for feels good, do it.
Yeah.
We talked about that phrase earlier. So we think about this relationship that is adultery, because once married and had relationships outside the marriage, talks about how it destroys our own soul. What's another thing in the Bible that Jesus talks about, the given in exchange for your soul? gain what in place of your soul? If you,
The world.
yeah, if you could gain the whole world and lose your own soul, would you do it? Yeah, well, we wouldn't because we know the value of the soul.
Yeah.
But you sing that. You ever heard the song Charlie Daniels sings? The Devil Went Down to Georgia. You know, and they do that. Sell a soul. Talks about selling your soul to the devil, type of thing. But people say that very, very casually. Yeah, the devil's got my soul. You know, they don't understand or even comprehend the tragedy in that statement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the only way that you will ever have any self-respect of the temple of God is if you understand the tragedy of have to experience a second death. And that's the only way. What motivates you to stay pure? What motivates you to stay right? What motivates you to want to do right in God's eyes? Is it because mom and dad are hammering over your head, and if you mess up, you're going to get it? Or is it the fact you understand, I don't want to go to hell. I want to be on the right side of things when this life's over. You know, and I don't know when the Lord's coming, so I got to stay right, be right. But how is anything? How do you develop a bad habit? Doing it over and over and over. How do you develop self-respect and doing right? Doing it over. Yeah. Every time there's an opportunity to lose your self-respect, don't get involved in it. Anytime there's an opportunity to do bad, turn away from it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. But the more you allow temptation to get into your life, and you I do it, dabble a little here and dabble a little there, next thing you know, you've allowed yourself to get involved in it. Okay, Francie, just finish that out, and we're going to run out of time.
Notice how the Apostle Paul spoke boldly about fornication. Flee fornication. Abstain from fornication. Flee youthful lusts. Ones who commit fornication do not have an inheritance in heaven. Paul also contrasted the works of the flesh with the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:16 through 25. The first sin mentioned as a work of the flesh is adultery. Paul concludes with a strong warning, they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Fornication, adultery, is a destructive, deceptive, damning sin. Be cautious. Satan would like nothing better than to ensnare and possibly destroy you by this sin.
Okay. I mean, there's just a list of phrases that the Apostle Paul uses in his writings from through Revelations and his 13 books there that just nail this whole thought that we've been talking about. And, you know, those which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And that's what we just talked about. We'll not have the ability to go to heaven. Okay, look at your question sheet there. We'll talk about it until the bell rings. Number one, what seems to be the popular feeling of the majority today? And you said it, and we read it earlier, Brody. What does everybody just say?
It feels good.
Yeah, if it feels good, do it. You know, if it's satisfying, do it. It don't matter who it hurts, or if it's wrong or right. If it's satisfying you, you're good. So how do we know, according to the Bible, that sex within the limitations God has given is good? What was the prime example? Who was the first husband and wife? Adam and Eve. Okay. One man, one woman to be fruitful and multiply. Okay.
Our AC was broken.
Yeah, he said your grandma was cooking in the oven too.
Oh, yes, yes.
I
I
go
know.
to sleep. I go to sleep with it too.
In the morning?
Yeah. He was up before I went to sleep.
I get 5. I got a morning routine. I just do that.
Hey, Steve, just send your paper right now.
I'm not a person. I wake up and I'm just mad.
Yeah, that's.
awake.
I just don't like to be, I
How
have
many
to have
times did you try to wake me
like
up?
a 30-minute,
Lacey said you tried like 3 times, but I only remember one.
A couple times.
I gotta have like a 30-minute buffer period before I have.
We'll get up for school. I
Contact.
spent the night with my friends and was home getting ready before he was out of bed.
Oh, my goodness.